Hello and welcome to the return of summer movie commentaries for Next Generation's First Generation, where we are celebrating, and I can't believe that this is true, the 30th anniversary of the release of Star Trek VI, because I remember when this movie came out. I remember when my parents rented it on video for us. It's crazy that it's been 30 years now. And we have, once again, a small group gathered together. We have our regular co-host, Sascha.
Hello.
Returning co-host, David.
Hi.
And special guest for the second time from Wonder Woman Warrior for Peace, Angela.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So in this film, Undiscovered Country, I believe, what's the one thing you're most looking forward to rewatching this movie?
Well, I just rewatched it last week on lunch breaks and finished my rewatch this morning. And really, it's learning from everybody else, like what their memories of it are and what connects with the movie for them. I think we're spaced out a little bit in age. I think all of us were born in the 1980s, but all of us at different ends of the 1980s. So our memories of this and the political climate around it will be very different.
Yeah, I enjoy interestingly dated things. So
Yeah, interestingly dated is a good word, because I would have watched this sometime in the late 90s, probably, maybe early 2000s, and I had no idea that it was supposed to be a metaphor for the Cold War, so.
I definitely did not at 9 or 10 years old, however old I was when the video came out.
Yeah, I found it as a nice transition between the two different, I would guess you say generations, not to be cliche about it, just the TOS and modern day. And I kind of saw it as like the capstone farewell from the TOS crew. So without further ado, let's get this thing queued up and ready to go. So if you are watching along, we'll give you a countdown so you can start your viewing device. If not, you can just listen along, use your wonderful imagination while you mow the lawn, walk the dog, or drive to work. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
We should mention this is the version that's on Hulu, which is the director's cut, I believe.
Ah, yes, you are correct.
It says director's cut, but from what I can understand, deleted scenes from the VHS version are not included in this one.
Huh.
Yeah. Maybe the theatrical cut is the director's. Oh, there you go. For Gene.
Yeah.
Yep, he had just passed away.
Yeah, less than 2 months.
Yeah, this was the 20th anniversary of just after the 20th anniversary of the franchise. So
25th.
Yeah, did I say that?
He said 20th.
Oh, sorry.
Now, did you guys know who Gene Roddenberry was in 1991?
I wouldn't have, but I was like less than 5 years old.
Yeah, me too. I was the same. By the way, can anybody appreciate just what a pretty obscure reference they chose for the title? I mean, that's not like one of the most famous Shakespeare lines. Probably most people know that through this movie, Undiscovered Country.
At least they say in the movie where it comes from.
Yeah. But it's interesting. They were recovering from the poor reception of the previous movie, and they were like, "What should we call this? Let's go with this obscure Shakespeare reference that people aren't going to get if they see in the movie."
Well, it's Nicholas Meyer who wrote and directed this. This is his second bite at the apple of doing a Star Trek movie. He had done Wrath of Khan, where you have a villain that's quoting Moby Dick the whole time. So this time you get a villain that's quoting Shakespeare the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie pulls from Hamlet, Julius Caesar, King Henry, The Merchant of Venice, Romeo and Juliet, The Tempest, all of it. There was definitely a bibliophile involved with the writing of the script.
Sadly, no Midsummer Night's Dream, though. It would have been hilarious to see a Klingon quoting Puck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see Star Trek based off of Taming of the Shrew and get like the Lixana Troy in there or something like that.
Yeah. This was only a few months before Iman married David Bowie.
Ah.
Okay.
And they were still married when he died. So
There goes my joke about Kirk kissing the same lips who kissed that kissed Bowie.
This is actually quite a moving musical piece. I've always really enjoyed listening to the movie scores themselves. A lot of us will listen to movies scores from other films and whatnot just in the background, like Nightmare Before Christmas or something from The Lord of the Rings, or any John Williams stuff is pretty good, and I'd have to say this is right up there with those.
Yeah.
In fact, it was Cliff Edelman who wrote this music.
And Nicholas Meyer, also a big Sherlock Holmes fan. He wrote the book, The 7% Solution, and also wrote the movie for it. And so Spock does a lot of Sherlock Holmesing in this. I love this opening so much.
It's great. Perfectly timed explosion right at the end of the score. We see Sulu kind of going on in his career. I'm really glad that we don't see Tim Russ in the background when they amended it for the Voyager episode. Though I think it's the same actor between the Voyager episode and right now this guy is kneeling in.
Yeah,
they
this is
got
before
as many as they could.
Before George Lucas came in and introduced editing old movies. But yeah, we start out with Stan Lee's favorite starship.
Mm-hmm.
Excelsior!
That is a well-timed red alert there. They must have put the sensor in the teacup. Oh, Captain's cup broke. Red alert.
It's funny to think when that Voyager episode came out, it had been less than 10 years since this movie.
yeah, only 5 actually.
Yeah, because that was the 30th anniversary.
All right, if a shockwave is riding that slow, that the ship has to kind of slowly jump into, or slowly impact with it, how in the world could it have traveled all these light years from its origin Praxis? It makes no makes no sense on how something faster than light can hit the ship at sublight speeds, especially when they're going at impulse. But movies.
Dude, it makes no sense that they don't have seat belts on their starship. So,
Yeah, true. Actually, what would make more sense is to have the ship turn off the gravity so you don't trip and fall and hurt yourself. You're just kind of floating at your station. And that the stations would have little grab bars just in case the gravity gets turned off. You can still kind of do a one-handed control at the interface there.
Yeah, but if you did that, you also have to take all the explosive materials out of the comm stations too. So
all those exploding rocks. We talked over Janice Rand's first appearance in several decades, I believe.
I
Yeah.
think she had a brief appearance in Search for Spock, like cameo.
Oh, okay.
And she was in that Voyager episode too, I believe.
Yeah. I watched that one last night too, and yeah, she was.
Now,
here
I was
comes-
way too young to realize this was a reference to Chernobyl in 1991.
Really?
Mm.
I did not know that.
Because this is, that's what happened is when people reached out to Russia after realizing that reactor had broken down, the Russians were like, yeah, it was a minor incident, not a big deal. We do not need help.
I want to know why all the Klingons here have British accents.
Remain outside the neutral zone. This transmission ends. Now,
That's just to help David Warner out.
Yeah.
are you kidding?
Well, the Klingons don't want our help. Don't have to ask me twice. See ya.
Yeah.
Now, supposedly in the early 90s, there were plans or fans wanted them to make an Excelsior show with Sulu as the captain. I remember seeing that in an ancient book, but clearly it never happened. Would have been cool, though.
Yeah, it would have. Because I remember Deep Space Nine coming out, and it took so long to even figure out what I was looking at because it was all Cardassian style designs. I would have been a lot more comfortable with like, okay, this is a starship. Here's Sulu.
Hey, it's the Oculus Quest logo. Look at that.
So this is the big meeting about there being, very only 50 years of sustainable life left on Kronos because this moon exploded.
Hey, there's Mr. Cisco before he opened his restaurant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Playing, unfortunately, the conspirator in the eventual attack on Chancellor.
Yeah, I read there was a deliberate irony in Tom Robinson as a man leading a conspiracy against the Klingons.
Yeah, Tom Robinson from To Kill a Mockingbird, yes.
Yes, a movie that has a surprising number of Star Trek connections.
Such as?
William Wyndham. I didn't mean, I should have looked that up I think there were several other actors who were in the.
That doesn't surprise me too much. This was so weird to watch, just in the aftermath of January 6th. The whole, we saved civilization again, and this time, and nobody got prosecuted. Yes, it's one thing to think about doing something. It's another thing to do it.
Yeah. I always this is the 5th movie they've used these. I always liked the sort of deep red uniforms.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I would, if I was ever going to cosplay as a Star Trek character, I would actually pay good money to get one of these either purchased or made for me.
Oh, I'd have to wear a plastic bag underneath it. I get sweat stains in about 2 minutes. And those look
looks like when they open their lapels that they kind of do have plastic underneath it. That material that's there underneath the fold.
Yeah, also a lot of people pointed out, weirdly enough, Star Trek uniforms never have pockets.
Yeah, you have to stick you have to put like a Velcro holster for your phaser on your.
Velcro's so futuristic.
It is. Well, it was invented by the Vulcans, thanks to Enterprise. And then given to somebody at that Cold Creek, I think was the name of the episode, or something like that. Carbon Creek, yeah. I find it interesting how Spock uses the ozone depletion argument that the Klingon Empire is going to lose their homeworld planet, and it's non sequitur because the Klingons have lots of planets, but they just can't keep it together if they lose one, which I find a little odd.
I feel like that was a Next Generation thing, though.
I mean, it is kind of their homeworld.
True. Well, not everybody can go to the space station. All 3 or 4 billion of us, when occupancy is 15. So the equivalent would be maybe the Klingons have a lot of planets, but they can only hold so many, and maybe they have several billion, and they just don't have the time to get everybody off the planet.
It's interesting that they're able to put together this plan to evacuate Kronos so easily in this, when our new Trek is so devoted to how it was completely impossible to evacuate Romulus in a timely manner. They couldn't to agree to it.
Now, why didn't Picard bring that up in his new series? Hey, we helped out the Klingons with the identical problem of their homeworld not being habitable anymore.
And that's one of the things they kind of missed the ball on in this, is that until I want to say the follow-up to this movie, we never really saw the media in Starfleet, in the Star Trek universe at all.
Don't trust
which is interesting because everything that happens after the assassination is just, everybody watches what happens. There's no spin put on it, really.
One thing I read, Shatner insisted that after he says "let them die," he would recoil in horror at what he just said, and Nicholas Meyer said, "Oh yeah, I'll keep that in," but he didn't.
Oh, there's our beautiful space mushroom.
He did a Kubrick there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I remember his words, "Let them die," being used against him in the trial, and I'm trying to figure out how they got that info.
No, it's his log entry.
Oh, I gotcha.
So Kim Cattrall here as the not the big bad, but one of the instruments of the big bad in this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I rewatching this, it was like, what's great is that it does play on one level to adults and another level to kids, because Vulcans are a really easy thing for kids to understand. They don't lie. They're very stone-faced. They can't be the baddies. So even though, like, watching it now, it's obvious she's the villain of this piece. Like, the minute that the Klingons come on board for dinner and she sends the guys over to the ship, you're like, oh yeah, she's up to something. But no, when I was a kid, I was just like everybody else on the crew, and it's like, a Vulcan? No.
Captain, may I remind you that regulations specify...
Well, it reminds me of when the Maquis got started and they had a Vulcan weapons buyer that approached Quark, is that Vulcans can be the bad guys. They just need the correct motivation to, more or less, they have to feel very righteous about their cause in order to become the quote-unquote bad guy.
That was the magic of Spock, was that, you know, even as a little kid, you trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the original episode Amok Time, they showed some Vulcans doing some pretty screwy things, like their old rituals and stuff.
The original crew to me as a kid was these movies, though. I did not see any of the TV show. I knew that it was a thing, but we watched Next Generation and we watched these movies at my house, and we really did not watch the original series.
Oh, there's David.
Yep. Who we last saw selling drugs to the crew of the Enterprise D.
Oh, that's right.
He had passed away at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The actor.
You know, I would almost make the suggestion that had they started Star Trek the Motion Picture with this plot, it would have done the franchise a lot of favors.
It would have, but that's not what Gene Roddenberry wanted. He honestly wouldn't have loved the idea that Kirk was afraid of the neutral zone going away.
Yeah,
it would have really upset him, because he believes that Starfleet was not a military.
Yeah, not a military. Mm-hmm. Or later on, they're going to have a phaser locker in the galley.
Yep.
With all the chefs. How are you not a military when you literally keep the guns in with the cooking supplies?
Well, in case the people don't like what you cook, you got to defend yourself. Oh, that beautiful pyramid candle. That's not going to fall over at all.
Academy. Followed your career with satisfaction. And as a Vulcan.
So, is this like a mentor-mentee conversation here? I don't really understand their relationship other than they're two Vulcans Vulcaning it up.
Yeah, they had talked about this possibly being Saavik, and they were like, we don't really want a third actress to play Saavik, so we're going to create a new character.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been even more of a shock if it had been Saavik and she had betrayed everybody. This gets played with, this kind of Spock and other Vulcans deal gets played with a lot more in that fantastic Star Trek Continues, where he has these kind of little rituals that he does with people. But also, I think at this time, this was the after. What was the thing that he did? The ritual that he did on Vulcan at the beginning of the motion picture to try to actually purge his emotions. Complete. I can't think of the name of it.
Ponfar?
No, the Kolinar.
Kolinar.
Yeah.
They kind of rhyme. I cite that as my excuse.
Oh, that's why they need to. It's a passing of the torch.
That's right. He wants her to take his place.
You are the resident Vulcan on the ship named Enterprise. This will be my last mission here.
She's like, not if I screw everything up like I'm planning on doing.
So when watching this as a child, when she said, all I can do is succeed you, I thought, well, that's kind of a jerk thing to say. I can only do better than what you did. It didn't occur to me that she was the quote-unquote succession, just the next person in line, not the...
Yeah.
I have to give my brother-in-law credit for for bringing this term to my attention, but that scene falls under the category of two adults talking in low voices, which as a 9-year-old, I was very much, yes, so what? I did like a lot of the talking stuff on Star Trek. I like that they talked stuff out. But
I love this line.
Yes.
Sorry, it's great. Sorry, go ahead.
Undoubtedly awaiting our signal.
When I first saw Star Wars, which I'd been watching Next Generation for years before I watched the original Star Wars, I was actually kind of bugged by how little people had long conversations in it, because my sci-fi was all built around talking and not about pew-pew.
You must have loved Solaris.
This is the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, God, no. Nobody talks in Solaris, though.
This is Kronos 1.
Just the guy floating around.
I am Chancellor Gorkon.
Chancellor Pickles. Gorkin is
Chancellor, we
Pickles
Classic
in
bad
German.
guy here, David Warner.
space to your meeting.
Still doing it. Of course, the voice of Ra's al Ghul Ra's al Ghul on Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
Hmm.
Federation of Planets.
And
Be delighted
the photographer in The Omen.
This is the second straight Trek movie he's been in. He was a human ambassador in the previous one.
That's right.
Apparently his name is a mashup of Gorbachev and Lincoln, which looking at him, I can definitely see the Lincoln in there.
Yeah.
There is a supply.
High forehead for Gorbachev.
Might make the evening pass more smoothly.
He doesn't have the splotch.
No,
No.
I don't. It's not the Naked Gun. They can't really make fun of that in a Star Trek movie.
Roddenberry would not have approved.
No, not at all. Hey, there's DeForest. We don't see a lot of him until a little later.
He's great in this, and this was a fantastic kind of farewell performance for him.
Yeah, they paid him something like an extra $1 million as a retirement gift, I think.
Nice.
I love this staff, and so did the people that made Black Panther. I have a feeling because M'Baku has one of those.
So is he about to get married? I mean, that kind of looks like Worf's outfit there.
May I present Captain Spock?
No.
Just as going to dinner outfit.
He's the High Chancellor. He wears a tux all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Gentlemen,
This has
this
got to
is
be
my
the friendliest
Vulcan.
friendliest Klingon I've ever seen.
My military advisor, Brigadier Kurla.
I love this guy
and this
who's
is
about to come up, the General Chang, with the riveted eye patch.
You know,
I love it.
so are they supposed to be Russian stereotypes or Chinese stereotypes? Make up your mind.
Well, I don't think they would be Chinese stereotypes if they made it in 2021.
Yeah.
They really softened up the Klingons' look in this series.
Yeah.
A lot of their cranial ridges are kind of denuded almost. They're not very pronounced. The Klingon actors, yeah, they're all still a little taller than everybody, but they're not as aggressive as your Batleth carrying Klingon.
Now we get the racist dialogue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I read it was Plummer's idea that he be bald.
Oh, there you go.
You men have work.
Yes, ma'am.
And snap to it.
Wait, are those the guys who...
They are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that. That's cool.
I think she's upset because she got Miranda on the Sex and the City quiz.
Oh man. That Romulan ale really early.
Looks a little watered down to me.
Yeah.
A little later, I'll show you my stash of Romulan Kush, if you know what I mean.
There's 20 people coming. You told me only 15. I only have enough ale for 15. Add that water. Everything is blue.
Just take some like Blue Mountain Dew and pretend it's ale or something. I don't know. They have blue raspberry mountain.
I so want to see like a little goldfish floating in everybody's glass, just swimming around.
That would be great. They're like, is this Diet Wildberry Mountain Dew? Do you have any Surge on board, Captain? We've heard legends of the Surge.
We've got the OK soda if you'd like that.
I've gotten into home brewing the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Because Romulan ale means a bottom fermented beer. The forums and the discussion trying to make an actual blue beer, it's hilarious. No, basically you can't do it because of the pH, but yeah.
There actually is a drink now called Romulan Ale. It's an energy drink. I saw it.
Right, but that's not a literal ale.
Right.
It has to be brewed.
Yeah, has to be a bottom fermenting beer, which I mean, yeah, you can't have your base grains be clear enough to then add a blue food coloring.
Can you have a mead that's not an ale?
You could do a mead. I don't know that it would be pure blue like that, but it would be a lot easier to do a mead.
Oh, now we're getting into the meat of the whole plot. Humans are racists.
Yeah.
You could imagine this being so much worse than it actually is now.
Oh,
this,
yeah.
This is just tense.
Homo sapiens only club. I'm sorry, the president of the Federation is literally not a human being. What is she talking about?
No. To be or not to be? That is the question.
That's really funny because I've never known the Klingons to really jump at the chance to be inclusive of other species.
I beg your pardon.
No, we know that like in the Romulan Star Empire, there are several other species, but yeah, the Klingon Empire is just Klingons.
Long way.
There was an Enterprise episode where they said that in the 26th century they were in the Federation, the Klingons.
Trust me, dude.
I thought they were in the Federation in the 24th century.
The Klingons?
Yeah.
No, I think they're in TNG. They're still their own thing.
Yeah, they're still their own thing. They're just at peace with the Federation.
Did you know Walter Coing wrote an outline for the 6th film where all the members except for Spock and McCoy are killed?
Oof, I'm glad they didn't do it that way.
Right. Well, he really wanted to end the series.
Nah, better let them all ride off into the sunset.
How they brought Kirk back though was really painful to watch. In the
in Generations or in
where he wasn't killed, he was just in the Nexus.
I didn't mind that. I just wish that he had stayed Kirk and hadn't turned into William Shatner.
He's slowly morphing into William Shatner already. The rock climbing in Star Trek V.
I doubt that our own behavior will distinguish us in the animal.
Oh, we missed the line about Shakespeare in the original Klingon.
I love that.
They actually translated Hamlet into Klingon, and I remember reading it as a teenager.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of hilarious.
In the Klingon language, before this movie, there was no to be in the Klingon language. They had to write that in.
But that was a joke that Chekhov used to make all the time. Is you'd say they bring up something and he'd say, "Well, that was invented in Russia."
Yeah. Incidentally, Russian has no present tense form of to be. You can future and past tense, yes, but no present.
I wonder if that's why why Klingonese didn't have it.
Yeah.
So are they already hungover from this
Yeah.
meal? I mean, the meal couldn't have been more than 4 hours ago.
What is it? That's curious.
It's Romulan ale, dude. It's illegally strong.
Ooh.
Neutron radiation.
I love what Chekhov says. Where's that radiation surge? It's just about the size of my head.
Polaris, you know anything about a radiation surge?
Sir?
Chekhov?
Only the size of my head.
I like that. She didn't technically lie.
That is a great light. I love that lamp.
Like
See,
something in an operating room.
all right, I'm going to say it right now. The Klingons got it right. What happens is the gravity turns off. They don't get thrown across the room. The bulkhead doesn't explode. The gravity just turns off.
Uhura monitor.
Yeah.
Well, I think they say the gravity got hit and destroyed, and that's why.
Oh,
We're still using models
go.
for the right?
Sometimes there are a couple of CGI shots in this,
Maybe.
or shots where it's a map.
I guess because when it got shot, it did look like it wobbled like a physical object
Yeah.
would, I think.
Which I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is pre.
Did you see the string that pulled the phaser out of his holster there?
No,
Oh.
I wasn't looking for it. There's sometimes where you just want to suspend your disbelief.
This is
And this is one of
before
those.
Jurassic Park, even, so Hollywood isn't obsessed with CGI quite yet.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
No,
not yet.
well, this was the year of Terminator 2, though. That was a pretty big leap.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And Last Starfighter was one of the first movies to use CGI as well. But it wasn't something that you talked about in casual conversation at all
Aye, sir.
until Jurassic Park happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jurassic Park was, look what they did. It was so amazing. So this pink blood here, this pepto-bismol pink blood, this was what was keeping this film from getting a lower or higher rating that it already had. It wasn't passing the censors, and they said, well, let's just change the color of the blood, and that passed the test in them getting that PG-13 rating.
Is it PG-13 or is it only PG? I think it's only PG.
I think it's 13.
Because I remember what a big deal it was that.
No, it's PG. My mistake.
What a huge deal it was that Revenge of the Sith was rated PG-13.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Because I was doing before and after school with kids at the time who were like, I might not be allowed to see this movie for several years if it's rated PG-13.
Well, it's been pointed out, like, because, TV shows and movies are filmed on Earth where we have gravity and stuff, it's pretty rare in spaceships for the gravity to stop working.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that back in 91, is this when it came out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this was probably filmed in 90 or maybe all the way back in 89. Computer graphics, spheres and geometric shapes are easy to do, but textures are difficult. And so that's why the blood looks super convincing, because, well, it's round with no texture, basically. The blast wave was pretty good, but you could tell it was very basic entry-level CGI.
I remember a Reading Rainbow episode where LeVar Burton was showing how computer animation worked, like really, really early on. This is late 80s. And yeah, that's what it was like two spheres floating in a void that could kind of, boogle and boogle back and forth.
Captain?
And he was really like, gaze upon this with awe, children. Only by reading the physical could you learn this. Oh yeah, it was rated at the time.
Shields up, Captain.
Captain, our shields.
I mean, good grief. Toy Story was, what, 95?
Yep. 4 years old. That was definitely already in production when this came out.
No.
So I think we've got a couple of listeners in Columbus, Ohio, and I wanted to say that I saw this film at the Grandview Theater down there in Grandview Heights when it first came out. And I took my best friend Donald Stein, and we didn't have any cash, so I told my dad, "Hey, I want to go see a movie." He asked me, "Okay, what movie do you want to see?" And I was embarrassed to say Star Trek. I didn't think he'd give me the money to go see Star Trek, but I figured he'd give me money to see, a movie an adult would watch. So I said, "We want to go see JFK." So
what kid wants to see JFK?
I don't know. That was just like, I couldn't think of anything else on the spot. So he gives me some money, and we walk up to the theater, and we watch this, and Donnie, he was so bored of this. He actually wanted to leave with only about 10 minutes left in the film. So we just kind of cut out early and got some pizza, but it was a wild.
I can understand if you had only a very rudimentary idea of what Star Trek is, going to see this movie and being bored. I could totally get that.
Oh, yeah, no, I loved it because I had watched all the films and a number of the 2S series, and I remember watching several seasons of Next Gen, so I didn't miss a step in watching this film, but my buddy was just turning in his seat with boredom.
Now, this is where we get to the issue of the Dr. McCoy having no knowledge of Klingon anatomy at all, which is interesting because we talk a lot on our podcast about how most of the aliens are only apparently aliens. There's nothing other than that their face is different. There's nothing to distinguish them very much from a human being at all. Klingons, have, we would assume, like bone density differences and things like that, but really they're humans just seated on another world.
I love how the wound is weeping right there. I'm sorry, that's just really cool. Yeah, okay. So you bring up an interesting point that pretty much all the aliens are the humanoid form, and they can more or less be treated in similar ways, is what I'm hearing from you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering why it wouldn't make more sense for any other Klingon in the room to do basic first aid. Like, they don't seem in any hurry to help him. They're just kind of watching McCoy. It's like, why is this?
Tell him.
Why is this drunk old man just beating on our president?
Well, because who's there? The two conspirators.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
His daughter and the other guy that wants him dead.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want McCoy to save him.
The daughter wasn't a conspirator, was she?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, okay.
She gets arrested at the end of the movie, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because she gets the chancellorship by him being dead.
Well, that makes more sense, because it's like, one of them could say, "Hey, by the way, our hearts are located where your livers are. Just push there instead."
And now also notice that they don't do the death howl. Now you could say, well, it wasn't introduced in Star Trek at the time, or they don't want to honor him in his death.
Yep, it had been introduced in Next Generation at this point. They've done it several times.
It's like, why would we want to honor this guy who wants to make peace with the humans? It's a good thing that he died this way, because now we can finally advance our agenda.
And they would have had to have sent to the peace conference if really there was no medical knowledge on Klingons. If there were going to be a bunch of Klingons there, they would assume that they might have to be treated by Federation doctors if something happened. So they would have sent some kind of biology textbook or whatever. And I love that in this movie they're still using books for when they have to do the literal translation of the Klingon language later on in the movie.
Oh, that was something Nichelle Nichols opposed. She's like, surely there's some kind of computer program or something that Uhura can look up. They've been at war with the species for how many decades? Surely she should know at least the rudimentary of Klingon language, but Nope, it made for a funny scene, so they kept it that way.
She also was originally going to be the one that was supposed to say, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" when the Klingons were going to come on board the ship, and she was like, "Absolutely not." She actually went over the dialogue for that with the fine-tooth comb. Was like, Uhura would not say this, Uhura would not say that. Just do not have her say that in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
The Chancellor of the High Council.
No, next time you get a chance to look at the ensigns on the Enterprise there, notice they're all wearing name tags on the opposite of their Starfleet badge. I think on the right side of their chests.
Nice.
Oh, that 70s show guy. What's his name?
Yeah, Kurtwood Smith, who had a fantastic appearance on Lower Decks this year.
Oh,
too.
yeah? What
Yeah.
did he do?
In the episode where it looked like they were on trial and it was just a preliminary to a surprise party.
So, like, were we sort of just getting out of the hair metal era at this point?
Oh, definitely. It's strange that there would be a Romulan ambassador on Earth at this point. Like, this is something that really has not been covered in a lot of stuff. I mean, we had, what's her name? Carrera.
We're past the Romulan War in the chronology. So
yeah, but didn't that just kind of stopped? They just withdrew. I don't think there was a brokered peace. So I don't know what the story is with why they would have a Romulan at this meeting. Other than that, I guess the Star Empire needs to know what's going on between the Federation and the Klingons, and they need to be transparent about it. And I like Mark Leonard's little cameo. I mean, it was one of those, like, he didn't actually need to come there and do Sarek, but I'm glad he did. Just one more time to see him before he dies in this season of Star Trek Next Generation.
The actor or the character?
The character.
That episode
I'm not sure. When did this movie come out versus when?
I think it was early December.
Okay,
yeah,
so the episode had aired. Unification had aired already, but I don't know which one filmed first.
Mr. President,
I think TV's usually got a quicker production schedule, so.
Well, they can take their time on movies. They'll have months to work on something, whereas TV has weeks.
let us come to the point. You want this conference to go forward, so do I will attend.
Yeah, so here's all the folks standing around. I guess that is the council members, ambassadors. Who do you think are all in there?
Yeah, it's your Vulcan ambassador, your Romulan ambassadors, and the guy that's there from representing the Klingons for the peace conference.
I'm surprised that the Klingons don't just immediately go for war. It seems unlike them to take diplomatic maneuvers. Oh, well, then there's this guy. Never mind. Yeah. So, what's the deal with the Klingon language? When did they first officially start writing it?
I don't know.
Star Trek 3. Mark
Star Trek
Okrand.
3. Mark who?
Mark Okrand.
Oh, and he created the language. Okay.
Yeah.
Father was killed for what he wanted.
Peace process.
Well, why switch to English now? You guys were doing so good. Oh, well.
He likes it.
Yeah. Also, I think it's one of those things where, we're supposed to trust that they actually are speaking in Klingon, but they're just having to switch to English for us.
Mm-hmm.
They did that with the Russian characters in Red October. They started in Russian and then they switched to English.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to just trust that they're really speaking Russian, but we're just having them speak English for our convenience.
One of the most iconic scenes in the film is Trial, with Michael Dorn as their lawyer. I would have liked it if we had seen a little bit more of
Damn show trial.
them getting set up with their counsel in this. I love that so much. And then they'll bring it back on Enterprise for Klingon trials.
Enterprise fired on Kronos.
I just love how they have a media bureau right there. That's just wild.
But that's what I wish we'd seen, was what kind of spin it was getting put on it, on, like the regular folk that are watching at home, like, because it is supposed to be a show trial, so we would assume that some level of propaganda would be presented here, but it's very much like this is the Cuban Missile Crisis with Christopher Plummer as Adelaide Stevenson with the don't wait for the translation, answer the question now. And that was just shown as is. There was no real spin put on the Cuban Missile Crisis. There were a bunch, I don't think in the 1960s there were a bunch of people saying like, oh, Kennedy's making this up, the Russians are not planning on putting missiles in Cuba, just relax.
Nothing to see here, move along. One of the biggest disadvantages that we get to see in Star Trek is we never see anything more than the warrior class, really, in the Star Trek world of Klingons. I'd like to see the scientists and the homemakers and the teachers, the laborers. I know that it could be a much more robust culture that it could be. I mean, we really do like how it is a Spartan culture, but we seem to misunderstand Spartan culture for violent culture.
But that's the side of the Klingons that they want the rest of the universe to know. I'm reading a book right now where Worf ends up being an ambassador on this planet where they all assume that because he's Klingon that he condones torture. They're fine telling him that they torture their prisoners and expect him to do the same because he's a Klingon. He's really appalled by them thinking that just because he's a Klingon that he's okay with torture.
Objection! I was nervous.
No. You were incompetent.
Maybe these Klingons are also smooth-headed because they're still recovering from that genetic virus thing from Enterprise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
God, man. I tried to save him.
Do not speak of it with outsiders.
I tried to save him.
I'm surprised they don't bring up Good Samaritan.
Desperate to save him.
Good Samaritan laws. I mean, I'm sure something like that exists on the Klingon side.
Not necessarily. The other excuse that they could have given was that the Chancellor would have wanted to die honorably and not have them come over and try to do chest compressions on him. That if he had survived, he would have been without honor because humans saved him.
James Tiberius.
This is where I first heard his middle name, by the way.
I think
Tiberius
it's the first time like anyone did, at least canonically.
On the ground until
I think it was the cartoon show that first said Tiberius. This was the live action confirmation of that.
Yeah, they had the gravestone in the Gary Marshall episode that said James R. Kirk on it. And they did a little...
Gary Mitchell.
Gary Mitchell, that's what I meant. No, I don't
Gary
think Gary
Marshall, somebody different.
on Star Trek. Yeah, they had a great callback to that in Star Trek Continues, where it was like, Mitchell was so insane he couldn't remember my middle name.
I never will. I've never been able to forgive him. But my boy.
Oh, evil Admiral. That we don't say no more. Just get rid of him and the rest of the world will be saved.
Those words were spoken by me.
Well, no, he's not an admiral here. He's a captain.
Yeah, they bring that up as that he used to be an admiral, but he got demoted.
Are not on trial. On the contrary.
Captain Kirk's views on movies.
Oh, I think we're about to get an education about it right now.
This officer's record shows him to be an insubordinate, unprincipled, career-minded opportunist with a history of violating the...
I almost want to see the prosecutor from that Deep Space Nine episode where they tried to bring in Worf for shooting down a passenger ship. I like that guy.
I'm just amused that the bridge keeper from Holy Grail is their judge. I mean, that's pretty impressive right there.
Right? What is your favorite color?
On occasion, I have disobeyed.
Only
Were you
Tip?
obeying or disobeying orders when you arranged the assassination of Chancellor Gorkon?
I didn't know about the assassination until we boarded the ship.
You still deny the Enterprise fired on?
Yeah, so
Honors, please.
I just don't understand the whole trial by conjecture. It doesn't hold water. I'm surprised they didn't. It's a show trial, yeah, but you think they would have, like, I don't know, asked for a copy of the logs from the Enterprise. If they can play his personal logs, they could also bring up the logs from the Enterprise showing, oh, they're missing 2 torpedoes, for example.
Well, time was a factor in getting these guys convicted and sent to this penal colony. Was kind of part of not starting a war. They needed to do this super fast.
Well, the
They
whole
might time with it if the peace conference hadn't been on the line.
Yeah, the movie was never about saving the home world. The movie was about getting people to the peace conference.
Mm-hmm.
State
You get a speech that's talked over quite a bit about kind of an airlift that they were going to do on that planet.
Stand ready to assist you.
You don't really hear how that would work, other than they just planned to evacuate everyone.
Termination of this court. The prisoners are guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Hurrah!
Captain King is very happy right now.
I wish to note for the record that the evidence against my client
And also,
is circumstantial.
I mean, critically, David pointed out that there was still a Soviet Union when this movie was in production.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks before it collapsed.
And also, we don't have to deal with the ramifications of either the Rodney King verdict or the OJ verdict.
I think it was the OJ verdict.
Well, I say Rodney King because so many people rioted in reaction to that.
Also, it was the next year.
Yeah. So we don't had the Rodney King incident already have happened. They might have, snuck in some dialogue about, if we don't convict Kirk and McCoy, like there could literally be a Klingon civil war. Like these guys, like the people that aren't in favor of peace could work actively to stop.
No, it wasn't Rodney King, because the LA riots were in April and May 1992.
Yeah, so it was in response to the Rodney King verdict.
This came out December 6, 1990.
No, I'm saying that it hadn't happened yet.
Oh.
So they couldn't. So if Rodney King had happened before this, then they would have kind of had to address that, because we with that and with OJ went into this big. Once again, what will the public at large do if an unfavorable verdict is rendered in a big trial? That had not come up yet in popular culture. Those were the two big trials that did
Not
it.
possible. All weapons visually accounted for. Sir.
An ancestor of mine maintained.
I don't know why I keep calling it the Rodney King trial. It was the Officer Stacy Kuhn and company trial. Rodney King was not on trial there.
It means that if we cannot have fired those torpedoes.
I think this is seeing Mr. Scott here. I don't think there are any scenes with Scott and Kirk in this movie where they're together.
You might be right. It's funny.
I think when they beam down into the Kittimer peace treaty room.
Right.
But they're there for like a brief second. Oh, and at the end when Kirk's standing up on the platform and everyone's clapping, Scotty's to one side. So I don't know that they interact much, but they're, at least in the same room at the same time.
Yeah, it's not like Takei where he constantly talks about the bad relationship he and William Shatner had. I don't remember Doohan ever really saying anything negative about William Shatner.
No, he did say some things like, I don't think he was as public But I think they did make up before he died.
Inform them of what?
Yeah, I was going to joke that this had to be Takei's favorite movie to film because he never had to be in the same room as Shatner, except again at the end when they're standing up on the platform, he's right there next to him.
Yeah, that's oh no, it's McCoy that says that, where he says quite a big ship, and Dottie says not quite as big as your captain, I think.
You'll be in charge.
I like.
You do not understand. If there was a ship underneath us, surely the assassins beamed aboard from that vessel, not Enterprise.
You're forgetting something, Mr. Chekhov.
Oh, gravity boots.
This ship fired those torpedoes. We did. The killers are here. If we did,
here's where he says that he's Sherlock Holmes' ancestor.
Yeah. I mean, it'd have to be Conan Doyle is his ancestor, right?
Yeah.
Because
What are we looking for, sir?
I mean, they've done Sherlock Holmes holodecks.
Yep.
Surely, no, he's fictional.
Here we go.
Yeah, Nicholas Meyer just loves Sherlock Holmes.
So, interesting piece of trivia here. All the costumes on in this set, on the Rurapenti set, were reused costumes from the Encounter of Farpoint.
Huh.
Very Star Wars-y right there.
Yeah. Well, I would say now, with New Trek, they've definitely co-opted the visual language of Star Wars to do Star Trek. They used to have very distinct visual languages between the two franchises. Now it's just like space is just, pew pew space is pew pew space. And Star Trek is going to look like Star Wars, and Star Wars is going to look like Star Trek.
Now, this right here is obviously a soundstage, but they actually went to Alaska to film a few scenes on a glacier.
Crazy. Now, this is a reference, his speech is a reference to the Commandant's speech in Bridge on the River Kwai. He talks about how there are no guards and no walls at the Japanese prison that the characters are in that movie. They're just going to be, in a work camp, and if they try to escape, great, they'll just die out in the woods.
Well, work badly, and you will die.
And there they go, inside. Freeze to death, faster.
I love when they dress animals up as aliens. I'm sure the animals don't love it, but I love it.
I don't know. My dogs get a kick out of wearing shirts and stuff like that. I think you just have to kind of get them in the right frame of mind for it. But Star Trek has never been afraid of gluing things to babies and animals.
That just sounds inappropriate somehow.
Have they glued an animal to a baby yet?
And we're visiting the set from Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
These are all the child actors who grew up from that movie.
They're just still there. They keep mining.
Yeah, Dr. Jones saved like 30 of us. There were like hundreds of kids in that mine.
In the previews and trailers, when they were doing the big media push to get this movie out, they showed a lot of scenes here in the prison, especially this fight that we're about to see.
I love that. They confiscated the Universal Translator, and as a former admiral, I deliberately did not learn any other alien languages.
It's funny because I always thought he was saying babushka. Like he's like, I am looking for my old woman or grandmother.
This is your spot. We'll move on.
I'm excited with 2 animated series of Star Trek on now that we're going to get to see a lot more neat looking aliens. than we have in a minute. They go all out for the movies and create some neat designs. I don't know if Michael Westmore did this one or not, because these look a little bit more elaborate than the stuff he was doing for the TV stuff. And here's Iman as our first shapeshifter we've ever seen. Not the same species as Odo, I don't think, but when Odo first turned up, I kind of wished that he was the same species as Iman, because this was so cool and mysterious that she had shape-shifting abilities.
There is a reward.
Changes.
Well, she could have been that plant. She could have been at that planet that where Wesley fell in love with the princess to be, and they were these weird anamorph creatures.
Make progress.
None.
Good old D-cell batteries are in those flashlights.
Surely they have disposed of these boots by now. Would it not have been logical?
Love how they just have a couple of cooked turkeys just sitting there, hanging out on the countertop.
By the time they escaped, without the boots, they would have floated off the Klingon.
Could you imagine the amount of like actual food that they would have to take on a voyage like that?
Oh, probably quite a bit.
Yeah. That's a great scene.
Please. As you know,
That's a lot of buttons for a kitchen. Which one's the orange juice button?
Suppose when they return, they threw the boots into the refuse.
I'm having the refuse searched.
They all come out the same nozzle, so Coke tastes a little bit like orange juice. And
Yes, there you go.
Coffee tastes a little bit like orange juice.
Funyuns, the.
Did someone fire off?
Oh, I can see a great Dark Helmet reference in here, standing by that computer bank. You've got Mr. Coffee and Mr. Radar.
Mr. Scott, I understand you're having difficulty with the warp drive. How much time do you require for repair?
There's nothing wrong with the.
Oh, this is great.
Yes.
If we return to space dock, the assassins will surely find a way to dispose of their incriminating footwear. And we will never see the captain or Dr. McCall.
Is that the same outfit that he is putting stasis in there in the Next Gen episode?
A lie?
Because we didn't. It's interesting because that happened before we knew that he was on the ship when Kirk disappeared. Because he thinks Kirk has come to save him when they bring him out of stasis. I almost feel like that was similar to Thomas Riker, that was kind of a doubling of Mr. Scott. Here's the 9-year-old's favorite.
Oh, good grief. Okay, you're on a spaceship and you're looking for magnetic boots. Wouldn't that be a fairly standard thing to have? If the gravity goes out, everybody's got to put on their magnetic boots to walk around.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it's like a life preserver on a boat. Yeah, everybody has one just in case. But no. We have to find these 2 specific magnetic boots.
Yeah, it's like Afghanistan, where nobody had adequate body armor, and people's families would just send it to them. Somebody's moms sent him a couple of nice pairs of magnetic boots. Like, I read an article about what will happen if the gravity goes out.
In the post-scarcity Star Trek universe.
Truth. Yeah, we don't have problems like that anymore. That is one of the things I really like about Star Trek, is that everyone has enough.
I really appreciate the voice acting here of this alien getting kicked in the balls.
I was lucky that thing had knees.
That was not his knee. Not everybody keeps their genitals in the same place, Captain.
Anything you want to tell me?
You should have said kneecap or something like that, because he bends there. It makes his leg move like a knee does.
When whoever it is makes their move, you won't be here to ask if he's the one. Do you want to get out of here?
There's got to be.
Now, didn't Iman appear on Pee-wee's Playhouse quite a bit, or at least once?
Oh, I want to say, yeah. You'd have to.
Because I, for some reason, can hear Pee Wee introducing her.
Miss Yvonne?
No, it was like, ladies and gentlemen, Iman.
Oh. What's the actress's name?
That Iman.
Iman, got a last name or is that a first name?
She just calls herself Iman.
Yeah, I looked it up. I think she's from Somalia. I think she has some Arabic last name that she dropped probably just because Iman was easier.
I believe that was a general idea that I was trying to convey.
I don't mean this future.
I never realized until this moment that Pee Wee and Yoda had similar voices.
What might happen? I was terrible.
I could just hear Frank Oz. It's like, that's perfect. I never have to do another Muppet voice again. Just give all the money to Paul Rubens.
No more neutral zone. I was used to hating Klingons.
I'm not convinced about Kirk's turnaround right here.
No.
It's like, I guess it only took him to be framed for killing a Klingon in order for him to come around and like Klingons.
He's being accused of killing a Klingon, and he didn't even get to kill a Klingon. Where's the fun of that?
Well, if you're gonna give me the credit, at least let me do it.
Yeah.
Jeez. Can I kill this guy? No.
Kicked Christopher Lloyd in the face right off the cliff.
Whoever killed Gorgon.
Was that a death blow? I thought he died in the when the ship self-destructed.
Wasn't it? Didn't he I have had enough of you, Christopher Lloyd, right off the cliff?
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd was still on the Klingon ship when the Enterprise blew up.
Oh, okay. Who did Kirk kick off the cliff then?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, okay. They were just on the ship?
What?
They were on the ship, or he just didn't kill him?
I'm kind of losing track of where this is. Yeah, they were on the Genesis planet, and Kirk, I think, kicked him to death, and then he managed to get the Klingon ship to beam him up.
Oh, okay. It's been a minute since I watched.
So I know that a lot of the effects were done by Industrial Light of Magic, and those were the same folks who did the morph effect in Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And I think that was actually the same software version that they used when Martia starts doing her thing.
I love how McCoy is just so over it. He's like, ugh, another alien woman.
I'm gonna have to get a STD scan for that one too. Ma'am, could you tell me what your bio specs are so I can check on him in about a week when he complains of a rash?
Although I've heard people say that in the original series, Kirk's reputation as a womanizer is pretty exaggerated.
Yeah.
And the most surprising cameo of the movie.
Christian Slater.
Isn't he supposed to be plotting to blow up a high school when he's that young? I mean, good grief.
Zaro Mohammed Abdul Majid is the name of Iman.
Sulu just rolls back over and goes, corn nuts!
Jeez, everybody's so old now.
Oh, I know. This is the most telling is how much foundation Chekhov has got on in this scene.
Yeah.
He's just coated in it. I mean, Takei's got pretty heavy eyeliner, but yeah, Koenig is really rocking the foundation.
Mr. Spock, I think I found some evidence. Or possibly Pepto-Bismol.
Protected back here.
This is the first evidence which corroborates our theory.
Now we go to start.
Now, we expand our search to...
Now, Klingons have had blood that color since this movie, correct?
No. No. It goes back to red in Deep Space Nine. And I think also in Next Gen, we see bruises and whatnot, like when Worf's lover is murdered. She's covered in red blood.
Well, that was before this.
Look at those circuit boards. So much better than string and wood.
And chunks of wood, yeah.
Okay. They were going to the beach with one of
Look at all
those.
those name tags. Tons of them.
Sir!
Dax. Oh man.
And she's got this great grin like, hot dog. They hid the evidence in somebody else's locker. Gonna get away with it.
I like these helmets here. Just for you look at whatever you look at, it just mines apparently. Oh. There's our shapeshifter.
I think we've been had.
No, you weren't, Doctor. Get to the first level. Follow the gang into the mine. They don't take girls.
Oh.
Oh man, we're still super uncomfortable about ambiguous gender in 23rd century.
Yeah, that whole
Yes, Commander.
gender
What is the
traitor
problem?
trope has got to go.
No.
I'm so tired of it.
Epic. Cinderella.
No, they're working hard on it.
True. Oh, this is a great joke.
Oh, I know.
Mr.
Love it.
Dax.
I just wish that Kim Cattrall went full Cruella de Vil after this. Idiots! Numbskulls! Didn't you realize?
What kind of
They ran out of trees to punch on Rue Pente, now they're punching rocks.
Get in.
Mining with predator lasers. Good grief.
I know, right? IDL also did Predator. And Alien.
ILM.
Oh, did I just call it IDL? Oh well.
What is that? What's IDL?
I meant to say Industrial Light and Magic, but
Right, but is there something that does IDL also stand for something?
ooh, I bet you it does.
Any spoonful of alphabet soup stands for something.
Interactive data visualization? Interface deception language? Ooh. Yeah, a whole bunch of programming stuff comes up. I love how we get to see this. Down they go.
You know, it would be cool to see a sci-fi shapeshifter that actually keeps conservation of mass in mind, because
yeah, well,
So-
it's always
So if the little girl had like a really long tail just to kind of balance out the mass.
yeah.
Yeah, in Animorphs they had a thing where like the excess mass goes into some like hyperspace dimension or something.
I hear some
Dude,
Planet of the
if-
Apes theme going on.
If they do that with Mystique in the next time she shows up in the Marvel Universe, because she was supposed to, like, if she turned into a little kid, she'd be, 150-pound little kid or whatever.
They did with T2. He had to keep the same mass, right? Which is
Yeah.
why he had sometimes had this extra metal hanging off. Or
We need these quickly.
So putting on more blankets. So couldn't she just like shape shift into a flying animal and just, really get out there?
Oh, I
guess
would
not.
assume so. Like, we already saw somebody turn into a...
So now they're in Alaska. They had 2 units. One was to just kind of get the landscape shots, and the other one was to watch these guys.
photograph actors that are wearing the same clothes as the main cast. That are
Oh no,
definitely-
this is the cast. They went out there and did this.
Yikes.
I thought I read that the actors themselves didn't go out, but
No. Oh, maybe you're right.
Alaska.
oh,
That would be hell to get insurance for that. Just hell. for DeForest, especially for any of the three of them.
Oh yeah, especially DeForest at that age. Good grief. I mean, you can't see their faces; they're bundled up so much.
But I mean, Iman makes money from being Iman. So if anything happens to make her not look like herself, that's bad.
He currently looks like a Wookiee, so
yeah,
you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, guys, we're going cliff diving.
All of a sudden, they run into Gene Hackman on a sled.
There they are.
It was right here. Where it was. Through the crystal and nothing happened.
Chekhov set course for Rurapente.
Mr. Spock, Rurapente is deep inside the Klingon frontier.
I want to know why their sensors are so good that they can scan for a little patch moving outside of a prison, hundreds, maybe tens of light years away.
Spock put a tracker on Kirk, remember?
True.
When he went to the Klingon ship. He tells him that later, because McCoy brings the same thing up. It's like, how are they going to find us? And Kirk's like, yeah, Spock put a tracker on me.
You think the Klingons would have caught that and just put them in prison jumpsuits?
I know. It would have been like a, delousing or something before they went in there.
2 sectors away.
Oh, well, 2 sectors away. There we go.
Actually, in Klingon prison, they put lice on you. Yeah, I think that was a CGI Enterprise zipping along there.
He's listening to Klingon radio. They're turning the Tards gay.
No, he's listening to a Days of Our Lives podcast where people are doing a watch along of Days of Our Lives and doing live commentary on the 150th anniversary of each episode coming out.
It was kind of a niche show. It's based on some apocryphal stories about Kalas when he was a child.
The universal translator would be recognized.
Oh, that's why the universal translator would be recognized. That's why. Now, couldn't they just listen to the translator and repeat it?
Just say exactly the same thing back.
Yeah. Like, mute it.
So they say back, who is this to them?
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're messing up the funny scene by introducing the logic.
Well, Spock is not on the bridge, so that's why.
Your destination. Over.
I just watched a very Douglas Adams seemingly inspired Doctor Who from the 80s about a starship that had volumes on it about everything other than how to operate the starship. Which was full of books on every other subject.
I love this flare.
You can tell Michelle was not having as much fun.
No. At least she wasn't doing that embarrassing fan dance. Yeah. Oh, that was a low point in her career, I believe.
Oh, she makes light of it in her book.
Does she? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being cringed out about that when I first watched it as a kid. I'm like, really?
I thought you were mythical.
Oh, wow.
Give a girl a chance, Captain. It takes a lot of effort.
Don't doubt it. Stop me wrong. But do we have any way of
the Kirk's getting some ideas looking down like, if you can shape shift, maybe there's some new things that we could try, maybe?
We're outside the shield. Now it's your turn.
Like 5 minutes later, he was dead.
Yes.
McCoy is just standing there like, I hope he thought it was worth it.
Not getting anywhere. Where'd you get this convenient
clothes? Of course.
Don't tell me that flare is standing in prison.
To let them know where we are. Ask her what she's getting in return.
A full pardon. which doesn't cover this.
An accident wasn't good enough.
Good enough for one. Two would have looked suspicious.
Oh, the clone. What's it called? The clone paradox.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
She pretty much nails it here when she says that, you know, there being two of him is his greatest ambition.
Yeah. And like, you know, like how Zap Brannigan is supposed to be like, what if Kirk was an egomaniac?
Yeah.
Like they would occasionally play around with the idea that he was on the show, though.
Yeah.
Like,
must have been your lifelong ambition.
Oh, such a great line.
Must have been your lifelong ambition. Yeah.
Now I gotta say, this fight scene, no classic fight music, so 0 out of 5. I want the da 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 da.
Or the two-fisted punch.
Oh yeah.
Or jumping at the other guy with 2 feet.
There's a whole book, The Art of Kirk Fu. I was tempted to get it for my father.
Okay, how many clone paradoxes have we seen in Star Trek? This one, Odo in the engine room. What else have we seen?
He's the one.
Kirk's done it before. Kill us both.
No witnesses. Killed while trying to escape.
Damn clever.
Halfway through Generations. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm still that shape-shifting alien the Klingons chose wrong.
Well, at this point, the alien is now forced to be Kirk. Says, well, I'm just going to have to play this out.
Yep.
And that's actually why Kirk faked his death on the Enterprise B in the next movie. Because that changeling needed to find a way out of the role.
Want to go back?
Absolutely not.
It's not a bad concept for a sci-fi story, actually. You're a shapeshifter and you have to take over the role of the person you duplicated.
Oh yeah, and of course Kirk is such a celebrity, and so you really have to. It's not just some boring guy delivering reports or pressing buttons. You would have to learn how this person operated and go back and read their logs. You could almost use the film like an anthology of Kirk's life. Like you get to learn about Kirk as the shapeshifter is learning, and then of course you have to have that one friend who kind of teases out the betrayal.
Oh.
Always
So
finding
they
evidence.
In a microwave.
Mm-hmm.
But they're dry faster than.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Helps get those pesky oh good grief, Pepto-Bismol stains out.
Yeah, this is where he just goes straight into the whole con thing.
Here's our bird of prey.
Klingons have a new weapon, a bird of prey that can fire when cloaked.
It looked so much better when they were models.
Not entirely. Gorkon's murderers are.
Well, I don't know. I think that they got better at the CGI technology as the decades progressed.
But there was that switch over that they made midway through Deep Space Nine that was just like, man.
Now, I want to know how Scotty figured this next piece of evidence so quickly. Where he insinuates these uniforms belong to these two guys.
Didn't you say there were name tags and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not anymore. Phaser on stun at close range.
First rule of assassination: kill the assassin.
So all the sets in this movie for the Federation ships are redressed next-gen sets.
Yeah, I could tell the transporter room was for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, they were looking for ways to keep the budget costs down, and they filmed this during one of the summer hiatuses of Next Gen. So they were able to use that. See, there's the engine room with the curved plexiglass.
Yeah, and the warp core is definitely their warp core.
Join Starfleet, they said.
Yeah, you really get to see the lower decks, folks. It's funny that they're like, yeah, we're in the middle of this crisis. We're hiding out from going back to the starbase, but regular duty shifts, go to bed and tuck yourself in when it's time to tuck yourself in. I love those blankets. I wonder if they sold those as beach towels in 91 or 92. Man, if I'd been 10 and had gone to the beach and seen a towel that looked like that, I would have thought the person that owned it was the coolest person in the world.
You have to shoot.
It's gonna guilt trip her with logic. Oh, I still want her to her mole to move around like with King John. She also reminds me of the character or the actress who played Ensign Rowe.
A little bit, Michelle Forbes.
Mm-hmm.
They have very similar careers after this.
You cannot prove anything.
Yes, I can. By trial.
That is so strange to be doing this in front of everybody on the bridge.
I think you need to. I think you need to show, one, what would happen to anybody else that's there if they did the same thing, how they would be treated by the captain, and B, they're a family. They all want to be together and be in on this.
And what do you think you've been?
If you do it separately, it kind of people are going to wonder why they didn't know what was going on. The unfortunate thing is that all of this has to be solved by magic mind meld.
Did you not wish Gorkon dead? Let them die.
I mean, it's a cool scene, but it's still technically Deus Ex Machina to get all this information out of it.
There you go. See, she used the "let them die" quote, and that was specifically said only between Kirk and Spock there. So I still want to know how she got that quote from him.
My comrades will make certain all your ship-to-shore transmissions are jammed.
Names.
We didn't mention one of my favorite lines in the movie about how the Dutch workers threw the wooden shoes called sabot into the machines. Sabotage.
Is that actually how that word came about, or?
I don't know.
That's what Kim Cattrall says.
It could be a Beastie Boys reference too.
Well, we know Kirk loves the Beastie Boys because it's in that last movie.
Yeah. The hopefully last movie in that trilogy. I don't know. They keep threatening to make more.
That was the better of the three of those movies, though. It actually felt like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? I think Anton Yelkin's passing has probably put the lid on doing any more of those.
Well, and something about the cast that they are going to demand higher salaries, but they have less money to pay them with, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, they've recast Spock, the Spock that I like a lot more than Zachary Quinto. I think Ethan Peck is quite amazing as Spock.
Well, the sabotage, sabots, that is actually accurate.
Oh, okay, cool.
The only difference is that it was a English word from the French word saboteur. So bungle, botch, wreck, or sabotage. A popular but incorrect account of the origin of the terms presenting meaning is the story that poor workers in France would throw their wooden sabots into machinery to disrupt production. So that is some moaning there. What the heck?
He's really fighting him.
I guess. That's the most into it I've ever seen anybody do a mind meld.
I'm gonna be glad Tuvok isn't doing this. He'd be like, I could do this. However, it might blow her head up. Janeway just slowly drags her cigarette and is like, it's a risk I'm willing to take.
Not after we've come so far and lost so many crew members.
Standing by, Captain.
Hey, it's this guy.
You realize that by even talking, you're violating regulations.
I'm sorry, Captain. Your message is breaking up.
Bless you. Where is the peace conference?
Oh, they're in a boys' club.
The conference is at Camp Kittelberg, near the Romulan border. I'm sending the exact coordinates on a coded frequency.
Now, what was the name of that space station that Worf was on as a child?
She can fire.
Kittimer.
Was it Kittimer?
Yep.
Okay.
How many of those things are there? Come on, Lieutenant.
Just the prototype.
You hear that?
I'm getting underway now.
Yeah, but we trust her for that one. Okay, sure.
Chances of our reaching the conference in time are slim.
When does this conference start?
According to my information, today.
Thank you.
Well, he's got time to shave.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I gotta look heroic for the final hero shot. Oh, this was a good scene.
Yeah.
The two old friends. Yeah.
Landing on ashes. You were right. It was arrogant presumption on my part that got us.
There's something everybody likes about having a spotlight shine in their face while they're laying in bed.
So yeah, all of the rooms seem to have that.
You said it yourself.
I mean, it would make sense for that to be the alarm for when it's time to go on duty. It's just to shine a light right in your face.
Oh, no. Picard reference to this back in season 1. It's his personal relaxation light. If you remember the episode with the Binars, that's what Picard had lined up for his day off, was just to sit underneath this relaxation light.
Sounds wicked boring. In a world with a holodeck, you're going to sit underneath a light. Okay, cool. You do you,
Well,
bro.
I mean, this is the guy that wanted to go to Ryza and just read. He's not really the most adventurous person in the world, but it clashes with Patrick Stewart's.
That reminds me when I went to Vegas with Jem and Matt a couple of years back, we passed a burlesque house called The Library. I thought it was like, wow, hey, books and sex in one place. What do you know?
I'm sure Jem and Matt both were totally in love with that idea.
Oh,
too.
yeah, they took pictures in front of it. It was great.
But Captain, we both know that I am not human.
Spock, you want to know something? Everybody's human.
Maybe that's just Kirk breaking the fourth wall. Guess what? You're a human. You're just wearing makeup.
Would it surprise you to know that when I eulogized you, I called you human? How would you feel about that?
Diplomatic Corps.
Yeah, you say that as if Spock didn't watch the eulogy footage afterwards.
Welcomes you to Camp Kittimer.
The You Googleizer. Oh, the final battle scene. I do have to say though, this really turned me on to political thrillers. I didn't really appreciate Harrison Ford political thrillers until after I watched this.
Oh, it took me forever to be able to watch those Jack Ryan movies. I don't think I ever sat through them until last year. I prefer stuff like this where it's just like wink wink metaphors.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to make my
Get Captain in 2 minutes.
I had a reference I wanted to make with all of the wink wink stuff, like only Nixon could go to China and don't wait for the translation. The other reason I'm glad that this happened after OJ is it's like I don't think they could have resisted saying that if the boots didn't fit, then they must quit.
It does not necessarily
We must
Oh, good grief.
do that thing.
And it would have been Spock saying it too.
Uhura?
Nothing, Captain. If she's here.
Okay, so I was looking all over. I cannot find the actor who played this Klingon assassin.
Which one? The one we're about to see?
The one we're about to see, the sniper guy. Because in a deleted scene, they do a Scooby-Doo, and he's a guy from earlier, and he's played by Rene Aubergenois.
That's right.
Hilarious because, of course, went on to be Odo. But the surely that's not Rene Aubergenois under a big rubber mask for the rest of the shots. But for the life of me, I cannot find who actually was the sniper.
Well, it might just be an unnamed extra.
Yeah, probably.
There's a lot of uncredited folks in this film.
Yes, but given the thoroughness, shall we say, of Star Trek fans to document every teeny little detail, you'd think somebody would have figured that out by now.
Where's the location of that torpedo fire button right now?
Exactly.
Oh, it's in the Collector's Private Museum in Lopine, California. He's had it in possession for 6 years. Before then, he purchased it on eBay for $2.50.
And I get it without having to have a conversation with Benicio del Toro.
Wrong collector.
All right, hit the button.
Probably attempting to ascertain why we are reversing, wondering whether we detect her.
Okay, can't they do just like a widespread phaser array something and just hope that they hit it? I mean, they're not just...
In range? Not yet, sir.
It's happened in the future with this same kind of thing. Next Generation has done similar stuff to this.
My father's motives.
But yeah, they hadn't come up with the idea at this point.
All right, so this is the guy you want the name of, right? The guy
Yeah, the
carrying
actor.
briefcase?
Carrying the briefcase, he goes up. You can only see his face decently in like 2 shots.
And we are here because we intend.
Because just like everybody else, I was looking on the wikis and Memory Alpha for this, and I'm like, oh, hey, it's Odo. That's hilarious.
Auxiliary circuits destroyed, Captain.
This is also where I realized that no matter which Enterprise you're on, they all just are triggered to explode.
Trick us, bleed. Wrong us.
Version of Venice.
Shall we not revenge?
Oh, is that what that's from?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shylock.
Gas, Captain. Under impulse power, she expands.
Wah.
Like
That's why he's kneeling. He's got to fart real bad.
But whatever the combination is merely.
He's holding it in.
Fart.
Well, what about all of that equipment we're carrying to catalog gaseous anomalies? The thing's got to have.
You gotta have a tailpipe, son.
How would she know what a tailpipe is? Oh.
Well, this is dumb, but this is if you read the novelization for the motion picture, Uhura is driving a taxi before they recall her to Starfleet.
Yeah, that is not Renee. That is somebody else.
Yes, definitely engineering from Next Generation here.
Oh, yeah. Now this right here, it just makes me want to play all the Star Trek video games and watch my favorite ships get blown up.
Now we've given him something else to shoot at.
Aye, sir.
Because nothing is cooler than a Starfleet vessel with a few torpedo holes in it.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they knocked the A off of the Enterprise.
There
That's
you go.
clever.
Our rebels now are ended, Kirk.
This is kind of cool. Another nice lower deck scene. I hope I'm on the right side of the door.
And let's slip the dogs of war.
Bones, where's my torpedo?
Bet you wish you'd stood in bed.
Shield's collapsing!
Why is he getting McCoy to help with the torpedo?
Operation?
Yeah, but biology and mechanics are two different things. Is it just to give DeForest Kelly something to do in the big fight?
Must have been. I mean, he had. It's funny because he had a lot to do earlier. But I wonder if they just ran through it and were like, who can deliver these lines the best and the most dramatic?
I'd give real money if he'd shut.
Well, and gives us one last scene with Spock and McCoy.
We've got a heartbeat.
The Klingon Empire, the ecological.
Oh man, this is killing me. I can't find this guy's name.
Yeah, I know, right? All last night, that was me.
Fire.
I mean, they have a really nice setup, almost like a yearbook page of uncredited Klingon actors, but that guy's picture's not on there.
Yeah.
To be. Target that explosion and fire.
Oh, there they go. The unfair advantage.
The other guys were invisible. I'd say that's an unfair advantage.
As I imagine this work will occupy us throughout most of the week.
Okay, Mr. Shooty Shoot.
The delegation could return to the capitals to implement the provisions of Phase 1.
There we go.
The first of next month. Scotty, as you know.
There you go. See? Kirk and Scotty.
This just validates the whole conspiracy theory that Kirk did it, so his entire gang beams down to kill the president.
Oh, I know.
Kirk, Enterprise.
There we go. I was wondering when the security folks would
That's
do their
what they
job.
thought was going to happen on January 6th.
Arrest those men.
We saved democracy.
I don't know this lady.
We've got a full confession.
Yeah, Scotty. Jump on the president. Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
I wonder who he really was.
Quite right. Just a minute.
One thing's for sure, he weren't no Klingon.
What's happened? What's the meaning of all of this?
Yeah, see, she's not a part of the conspiracy.
I thought she was.
Some people think the future means the end of history. Well, we haven't run out of history quite yet.
Someone just died. A whole bunch of people are trying to be killed, but I'm going to make a speech right now. I'm glad none of you are leaving and securing yourselves.
Well, the end of history, that was something that they said about the end of the Cold War, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah. Something like, we've finally realized that democracy works and dictatorships don't now that the USSR has collapsed.
Yep.
Which 30 years later seems a bit optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure Putin was watching and chuckling as that went on.
Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing more pure and inspiring than new beginnings. Nobody wants to know what happens in 30 or 40 years after the fact. They're only interested
I
in
want
the
to
new
say
thing.
all these aliens that are in the blue sashes are other members of the Romulan Star Empire.
No, because there are other aliens that are wearing blue sashes as well.
They're not, because the Star Empire is like the Federation. It's not just the Romulans. The Romulans are just the boss of them.
Did not know that.
They have other species that are in there that are not in the Federation.
Me. I felt like Lieutenant Polaris.
Well, they don't arrest people for having feelings.
This is where they're like, yeah, we're all racist, but we keep it to ourselves. It would be insane to attack a peace conference that way.
Nice to see you in action one more time, Captain.
Yeah, they should have just kept this crew right here and not done anything else with them. We see George Takei, we see Kirk, McCoy, Scotty come back, all in their own revised roles. I don't think we see Chekhov or Uhura come back, do we?
Not officially. I think maybe they show up in some fan films.
Yeah, they have both done fan films.
Really? That's nice. I didn't know that.
It would have been funny if they'd Excelsior and Enterprise had like bumped their nacelles against each other just as a little
nacelle bump. Good look out there, bro. Nice looking out for you. I got your back. Audi 2000.
If I were human, I believe my response would be go to hell.
Go.
Oh, he said the thing. Oh my gosh.
If I were human.
If I were human.
But everybody's human.
Of course, Captain.
Oh, is this where he does that Peter Pan reference?
Yeah. I love that. Big
It's
Peter
great.
Pan fan.
Second star to the right.
Hey, Jude Law is going to be Captain Hook next year.
Oh yeah. Well, Kirk just wants to meet Wendy.
Oh, come on. He would be hooked to Wendy, though. He's well past Peter Pan. He grew up. He'd be a Hook figure.
Oh, we watched Hook a couple of weeks ago. I forgot how terrible that movie was.
Whoa. I'm sorry.
I love Hook.
The classic Spielberg movie Hook. How dare you, sir?
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Came out the same month as this movie.
Well,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's the only other real seriously grossing pirate movie other than Pirates of the Caribbean.
And Journey to All.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Cutthroat Island.
Spielberg didn't like it. Other people didn't like it. I love that this turned into a discussion of Hook.
Yeah. Here, our last shining moments of the Star Trek crew, and we're talking about Dennis Hoffman as a pirate.
Which was amazing. He totally disappeared into that role.
I agree.
It's nice that they sign it. I love that.
Yeah. Reminded me of the credits from Endgame where all the stars signed.
Was this supposed to be their final farewell? Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
This was kind of like the official, we're throwing in the towel.
As evidenced by all these signatures, I think it has to be, yeah. I mean, it had been 25 years since
the Disney font.
How funny would it be instead of this, we're seeing their signature going across the back of their paycheck for doing this? Having them validate it and turn it into the bank.
I'm a little surprised how readable all those signatures are. Usually you get a celeb and
I was thinking,
can't make out nothing.
Oh, yeah. So I had a job where I had to sign probably my signature about 30 or 40 times a day, just because I was a low-level bureaucrat. And my signature has been reduced to a doctor's scribble. So for the fact that a celeb, like you said, can actually write out something readable, pretty nice.
I was thinking.
What were you going to say about?
I was thinking DeForest Kelly should have the most illegible signature since he's the doctor.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. Wow. Well, there was it. That was it, folks. That was a lot of fun. We did it. Yay. So. What's your takeaway from this? I'm kind of curious what everybody's like parting thoughts are on this film.
What number are we rating it out of?
We can do 5 stars, but
like 3.5. I would say. Interesting thing, like they say the Star Trek, the like even numbered films are the best, but actually of the original 6. This is probably the only even-numbered film I like better than the odd-numbered one that preceded it. Because I actually like 1 better than 2 and 3 better than 4.
Yeah, there's definitely that every other rule that kind of kicks in.
I would go with 4 out of 5. I think it was a good send-off for the crew. I probably felt more timely at the time, but it doesn't really hit you in the face with, politics, timely, topical, if you're just a casual fan.
Right.
Yeah, I would have to say that this this was a great departure point for the original series cast, because you could watch this film standalone. You didn't actually need to know much about Star Trek to understand that there's tension in the plot and that there are things at stake, and it's definitely a social commentary. I like the parallel between the Russians in the United States, but it was obscure. It wasn't, I'm going to hit you over the head with this. I just really enjoyed that it was a little bit more of a, hey, let's find the big weakness with this technological solution, and bam, end of movie. There's a little bit of plot and discovery and digging to be had. So, to be fair, I give this a 5 out of 5. Just to be quite honest, it stuck with me since I was a child, and it's still a really good watch now.
Wait, is it your favorite Trek movie?
Yeah, I would have to say. I'm not a big fan of really the next gen films that come after this, to be quite serious. It's just this one, The Voyage Home, and Wrath of Khan are probably my 3 favorite movies, comparably.
Yeah, I'd also give this 5 out of 5. I need, and I think it's going to happen fairly soon, a big screen re-release of the motion picture that I can just sit at and take in, because it's meant to be a theatrical experience. This I did finally get to see on the big screen in 2018, and I love that it played to me one way as a 9 or 10-year-old. I had to have been 10 when I saw this. If it came out in December and I didn't see it in the theater, I would have been 10 by the time it came out on home video. And it worked really well because I had in my head, like, Star Trek movies come out every 2 years. So when Generations came out in 94, I was ready for it. And at that time, I didn't, make a big distinction between here's William Shatner's ego and here's who Captain Kirk is. But the movies were very much their own thing, separate to me from the original series. They're their own story. And I think it's a great story. I think 6 is a fantastic capstone to it. I agree with David, 3 is a pretty darn good movie. But we were able to talk about 5 a couple of years ago and even find good things about that. So, yeah, if you look at all of this as a 6-part story, it's good. And this is a great ending to it. And and like Angela said, even Endgame saw this and said, hey, this is how Star Trek finished it. We should finish with signatures.
Well, cool. Thank you. Angela, did you have anything else to say before we sign out? Did you want to do a quick drop for your production?
Oh, sure, if you like. I do a Wonder Woman podcast, Wonder Woman Warrior for Peace. I review comics from the Golden Age, the Post-Crisis, the New 52, and the classic Linda Carter TV show, Wonder Woman comics, obviously. I hit episode 50 a couple months ago, which was pretty darn exciting.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's a fun time. If you're interested in Wonder Woman comics, definitely go check it out.
Great, thank you, and we will. Angela and David, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a while since we had you on, David, and we are just really stoked to have you back on. We hope to have you on a couple more episodes moving on into the future.
It was fun.
Yeah, and then with that, I believe we are cruising into our summer break, and then we're going to be coming back with season 5. Oh my goodness, that's a good one. It's a good one. We're slowly moving into the mature young adult next generation, and we will see that progress naturally. So with that being said, thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.
I will say, after we did this last time, I ended up in the emergency room the next day. So if I'm in the ER tomorrow, I am not coming back for Generations.
All right, we're sending some good vibes to you right now. Then don't get hurt sick, please.
Music provided by lofigirl.com. Artists include Tenno, Daydreaming, BVG and Mondberg, Insomnia, WYS, Snowman, Bcalm and Banks, Because. Episode cover art created by Matthew Kirschner. Podcast logo and main cover art provided by David Clawwitter. Audio engineering done by Sascha Schaudies